Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Hello friends, welcome to Homo Politicus. On the program we keep looking at issues thrown up, contemporary issues thrown up by contemporary Nigeria, just so you know. Today, thorough Union Bank acquisition investigation widens. $500 million involved. Now, the scrutiny of the apex bank in Nigeria, that's the CBN, is unfolding before our eyes. A former deputy governor of the CBN, Mr. Babatunde Lemon, who is chairman of the Titan Trust Bank, TTB, along with two other accomplices, have been invited by the special investigator on the CBN, Mr. Jim Osanyade Obaze. Massive irregularities were unearthed in the acquisition of both the Union Bank and the Keystone Bank. Of course, the embattled former CBN boss, Godwin Emefiele, is rumored to have used proxies to establish the Titan Trust Bank, TTB, and take over the Union Bank with ill-gotten wealth. We hear that one of the TTB promoters, Cornelius Vink, is presently hospitalized in Switzerland, a development that might slow down meetings with the relevant parties in the sordid affair. Now, my country is enmeshed in a blinding spate of massive corruption. But in investigation, it is said that if you remove the impossible, whatever is left, however improbable, must be the truth. Shall we have a conversation, please? And my conversationalists today are people we are familiar with, but let's meet one more time, journalist, national affairs commentator, Emeka Madonagwe. Emeka, I greet you.
Yes, good day.
Emeka, compliments of the season to you.
Yes, all the best.
We do also have a chartered accountant, public policy analyst, Mr. Akin Fatunke. I greet you too.
Thank you very much, Citizen Jones.
Akin, compliments of the season.
Compliments of the season.
Yeah,
all
folks,
Nigerians.
just before we delve into the talking point, the news just got to us that Governor of Ondo State, Arakunrin Rotimi Akeredolu, passed after battling with leukemia at 67. Emeka?
Yeah, very unfortunate. He had battled with leukemia for some time, and efforts had been made to treat him abroad, but eventually he succumbed to the sickness. I pray that his soul rests in peace, but that should also be a lesson for all Nigerian politicians, talking about the controversy that attended his medical leave. The way some politicians try to make political capital out of it, you can already see that one of them, as of yesterday, maybe anticipating that Akeredolu will pass today, already took the front page of a newspaper, trying to make some funny assertions in it. So, but I pray his family finds comfort.
Emeka, I pray that his beloved Ondo State will find peace.
Of course.
At long last. All right, Aki, Arakunrin, the one fondly referred to as Aketi, is gone.
Yeah, Aketi has gone the way of all flesh, and he's just disembarked from his bus stop. We're all destined to get to our bus stop. Becomes very interesting with all the maneuverings that came in the wake of his illness, the wife, the son, the inner cabinet, the larger Odo, and Mr. President, whether people say it's extrajudicial, extra-constitutional, weighed in before Ondo State went into flagration. Aketi will be missed. I believe solely that a lot of lessons have been learned. Emeka just hinted at that. We all should know that there's always a lucky day for all of us. making a reference to the deputy governor who is now lucky enough to bear lucky, Aiyedatiwa, and all the people that have been dancing palongo in public space, very much unlike the way it should go. Aketi will be missed in the Southwest, especially we are talking about the Amotekun. I remember him in full colors for the Amotekun, making an attempt to control the internal security in that part of town. I do, Aketi.
In his beloved Southwest.
Oh, yes.
And by extension, Nigeria. Of course, gentlemen, we are reminded in this connection of the antics, the histrionics, and the theatrics of politicians. So, Emeka, you not be surprised that things like this will be coming at this time.
No, it's even if it's the usual, horse trading and all of that, it would be understandable. But you just find some form of quote unquote delinquency. You know, that desperation to get power and stay onto power.
All right.
That was what almost torpedoed the moves, you know, to bring about peace. Even when the President Bola Tinubu had told them what to go and do, they still went there. There were allegations that some of them forged his signature, forged the governor's signature, and all kinds of things. So he now had to send for them again and upbraided some of them.
But, okay, gentlemen, the next story is not sweeter. Former Speaker of the House of Reps, Gali Umanahaba, has passed on too. He was 65.
Gali Umanahaba was said to have been
ailing
for some time. So, but he was a vibrant speaker. At least he mounted strong opposition to President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Oh, yeah.
When he was the Speaker of the House.
So again, we are talking about firebrand politicians.
On alleged Ghana must go, third term, and what have you, he stood ramrod. Gali Nahaba also will be missed. He chose to be different amidst the pack, not letting then President Obasanjo to allegedly have his way. I think Gali Nahaba, in the true tradition of the very few that have passed through the National Assembly, who believed so much that knowledge should go on and pass to next generation, he gave a lot of himself.
Of course, in this connection too, Aki, we cannot forget Senate President at the time, Senator, what's his name? Nnamani.
Nnamani, Babara before him, and all the banana peels.
So essentially, we have had, crack politicians that kept leadership on its toes.
He kept his head. He kept his name. He was going to be unbending, no matter what, displaying the Ghana must go. I think he had quite a lot going for him, and in his twilight years on earth, strolling on the streets of London with his grandson and all that. Got the picture. It is clear.
Let's go to our talking point. Our talking point is thorough Union Bank acquisition investigation widens. $500 million involved. Emeka, let's start with you. So when former British Prime Minister David Cameron said Nigeria was fantastically corrupt after Afghanistan, he was not missing words.
Yeah, when somebody uses the word fantastic, if you look at it in the context of language usage, it's a very nice way of conveying something with a horrible character.
Insulting you nicely.
Yes, nicely, which was what he did. We've heard about acquisitions and mergers that, left everybody dazed. I mean, how did a small bank like Titan Bank come to get enough money to be able to acquire a banking giant like Union Bank. But of course, in Nigeria, once things are explained away, somehow everybody forgets about it.
Okay.
Well, I'll put a caveat as an accountant and somebody who has been in strict audit practice, including forensic. I know that Mr. Jim Obaze, if he's hearing what I'm saying, recognize the fact that there are processes to go when you are doing investigation, and you need to be watertight before you spill out. Two things that I am grappling with. If that report has been given to Mr. President, how comes it's been leaked and then we are virtually perhaps doing media trial, and you need to be very, 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 very tight. Again, it's in no way trying to pass judgment on right or wrong, but I think the process and the procedure has not been very neat. And Citizen Jones, what are we talking about here? We're talking about TGI and Titan Bank swallowing Union Bank now for today. And look at quite a number of mergers and acquisitions like Emeka has
In the past.
Nigeria has been swallowed. Nigeria Airways was swallowed. Nigeria Naples was swallowed. Nigeria, shipping line was swallowed. The only thing that has not been swallowed is us still having our heads on. So
On our shoulders.
might be looking at it in a polite way. Some other president called us a name. Was calling us shithole. I mean, it's got to be shithole for a people to have learned nothing and forgotten nothing in the way and manner this has gone. So without prejudice, I know that there is absolutely none of the dramatis personae on this matter, starting from Jim Obaze himself, the chief investigator, to Mr. Tunde Lemon, to Mr. Samuel, to Colonials, that do not know or have heard about corporate governance. And when corporate governance goes to the dogs, this is exactly what we are likely to be finding. But if you want to come to equity, like they say, come out there with not just hands that are clean, even let your legs, be sparkling.
Yeah.
We are in for a big showdown. See, Joe, remember the power of PCN unbundling things, and when the National Assembly, and then the hunter became the hunted and all that, Elumedu, then the National Assembly now became the hunted. If we are not careful and we do the dotting of I's and crossing of T's, we are most likely to get Waziri, EFCC's Waziri, that all the evidence that came just went through like a basket leaking water. We need to be a bit more diligent.
Yeah, but the only troublous thing here is the fact that you talked about media trial. But Akin, as indeed the maker, nothing matters in this instance but the facts.
Yes.
Without them, the science of criminal investigation is more than a guessing game, Emeka.
Well, the point is that at the end of the day, the report of the special investigation will still be scrutinized. It will still be, government will need to look into it. Especially now that people like Emefiele have denied some of the things in the report, that someone like Boss Mustafa, Secretary of Government of Information, has denied. So with all these denials coming left and right, I see that the report may not really see the light of day.
And so,
sorry. So we're in trouble already?
well,
Or so it seems?
it doesn't say that we are smelling like rose, but like I said, let the due process come in. The internal mechanism of TGI, Tropical General Investment Group, have come out to say that a lot of misunderstanding might have come from the point of the investigator, and that it came. They had international financiers mention Rothschild, mention Citibank, and that they are there to be seen. How and why these were not seen at the instance perhaps will be since August 2023, when Mr. Tunde Lemon was invited, and then the other two gentlemen who were running very profitable businesses, as Indians, decided to sell off, their business to now look for funds without putting there. Did it go through the normal process? Was it taken, like we say in our practice, at arm's length? If not, why were you invited? Again, perhaps somebody I have a lot of respect for is Tunde Lemon, and he had to make a repost in the newspaper, which the authorities are now saying is a bit embarrassing based on what he had said before and what is now showing. But at the end of the day, I will say, and why is it that the federal government has not said anything up till now? It gives me a bit of a
but Emeka, okay, just a minute. Emeka, as one of the continent's largest and most influential nations, our country, Nigeria, is suffering from a high crime rate.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what Akin thinks at this moment.
Well, it's unfortunate that the situation is like that, but such matters need to be looked into so as to assure where money is coming from and where it's going to. To what use is being put, so that we don't become a criminal haven.
Where money is coming from, where it's going to, the source of the money, the names behind the money. I mean, we've been talking about.
I talked about a former British Prime Minister, David Cameron. He also said at the event in your famed, what's the name of that house?
Chatham House.
Chatham House. He said if the amount of money stolen from Nigeria in the last 30 years was stolen from the UK would have ceased to exist.
Oh, I mean, we had a president in this country who, after a lot of stealing and willing, off the cuff acts that he cannot understand why Nigeria is still standing on his feet. I'm talking about the former military president, Babangida. Truth is.
Okay, you mean when he wondered how Nigeria was still standing,
and Nigeria is not falling to its feet,
regardless of.
And the one that succeeded him, the Godwin general, who not only stole blind that our grandchildren are still now getting.
But returning money to us from the grave.
When we are broke, we just begin to see, and then that will not now be restored to us. The principle of law, clearly, that we signed into, made it point clear that a man or a woman is not guilty until proven. So we need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that we've gone through the process. The process is as good as the outcome that we are going to get. And let's tarry a little while. You remember we had a minister in this country at the height when I was in the industry, and I know Nigeria was also stolen blind and was accused. She ran to England, to the UK, and said nothing will happen to her. Again, we are getting from the social media now that she said, please allow me to come back. I'm ready to settle.
Yeah, and that she was not the only one who stole.
And that
blah 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 blah.
Started mentioning names. You see, like William Watford said, the wheel of justice grinds slowly, but it grinds exceedingly well. It will eventually meet. We just spoke at the onset. We were lamenting the death of two prominent people. We can sleep and not wake up tomorrow. Again, at the end of the day, we might have stolen. Find ourselves in wheelchair. There is absolutely nothing that is going to go unpunished. The way,
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But let's go about it diligently. I mentioned the Waziri, the EFCC chair. He had ironclad, allegations, but they all sifted out, and then they.
Yeah, Akin, but I dare tell us here that the everyday Nigerian is not persuaded that a story like this Union Bank acquisition and Keystone Bank will not just come for nothing. You talked about media trial.
Yeah.
We are not trying anybody here. We are dealing with the facts. Emeka, the one effective way of tackling organized crime is to make anti-crime fight more organized.
Yeah, well, yes, more organized, and then for those who are fighting, who are involved in the fight, to be less compromised. That's part of the problem. I mean, if successive heads of the EFCC were thrown out because of one allegation or the other, it still tells you that the EFCC still has a long way to go. ICPC too is the same problem. And they were supposed to have an Auditor General of the Federation who's supposed to do all of this investigation.
Oh dear.
But you keep quiet and decide to use omnibus.
And the Accountant General of the Federation, who
Oh yeah.
he himself now is now being investigated. So at the end of the day, I mean, I agree that there can't be smoke without fire. I agree, and that the Nigerian, so many people have died under the Emefiele's handling.
Yes,
So many people, not only have died, and perhaps we are still suffering the outcome. But I still say that, yes, let the normal process go on. Let it be strong-clad. Don't play into the waiting arms of those who have stolen us blind and who have amassed so much, that they can fight back. Corruption has a way of fighting back.
Yes.
And let's also be careful. And I see where you are coming from, Citizen Jones. There's so much hunger in the land, there's so much anger in the land, all the indices are showing red. The SDG goals, 17 of them are all showing red. No food, no means of livelihood. And if you are still living larger than life, if you are not very, very careful and you are prompt in investigating people and bringing them to book, well, the poor might end up swallowing the rich.
Yeah, but you are not looking for a revolution. If you must employ the word revolution here, it would be revolutionizing investigative prowess, Emeka, because we hardly punish wrongdoers in this country. And so you have lost the faith of the common man.
Well, that's the situation, the unfortunate situation, whereby investigations are not taken very seriously. So you have a lot of media trial, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So let's wait and see how this one will turn out.
Well, was it Abacha that said if anything goes wrong, whether it's security, whether it's no matter what, criminologists will tell you that the hand of the people in power are there. So who is now going to investigate? Can you investigate yourself if you are in the middle of the whole thing? Is it not therefore a way to surmise and say it's being deliberate? If I know that my hands are in the cookie jar, and it's that same hand that you expect me to go arrest somebody else, and I get there to want to arrest the person, and I say, hey, look, if you make too much of a noise, I will pull the whole house down on us, like Samson did with Delilah. What will now then happen is that I just have to find a way to keep my mouth shut. But it can't continue. Even if it is going to be one, you are very correct. Let's diligently prosecute and make sure we bring to book. And if it's only one that we found along the line, a Nigerian who has been diligent and who has been very dutiful, perhaps because he or she has decided to be very clean, was punished. Let's bring such people back and let the whole world see that good deeds have its reward, and that is the only way we can. But I dare say that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today, President of Nigeria at any point in time, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today has the responsibility to go beyond the ordinary, to also know that beyond Emefiele, there are a few untouchables, and we are not going to be satisfied with doing one's best or not want to do one's best. Name it. We already have a key leg in there, and then we must call a spade exactly what it is. A spade and not an agricultural implement. If he wants to do that, I like to see him as a Paul on his way to Damascus. He has done so many runs, but decided that he's going to have it turn around and begin to do good, so that legacy and history will be on his side. Pure and simple.
But because for me, organized crime is nothing short of a guerrilla war against the country. And now we appear to be in a mess, Emeka.
Well, that's so sad.
The international community hardly wants to trust us.
That's so sad. And we wish the reverse would be the case at some point in time.
Yes, I wish the reverse would be. And it's not rocket science, really. And St. Jones, please permit me to say this. The same political class that have had their hands, their legs, all in the shithole thing, within that same political class, we still see one or two dazzlers. They came, and what we believe was not going to be possible, in our very eyes, they started to do. I give the example of the Internal Affairs, who decided that was going to use technology and a determination in 2 weeks, was able to clear the rot and the corruption, not all wiped off in use of our passport. The same can happen in our security architecture. The same can happen in our economy. The same can happen in our financial management. The same can happen in our governance. But it will have to start from the top. And by the top here, I am talking about the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and his ministers. I'm talking about the Red and Green Chamber, National Assembly. I'm talking about the subnational levels, the state governors and the state assemblies. I'm talking about the local government chairmen and their councillors. We seem genuinely to be in a vehicle that is not going to take us anywhere, that we call an omnibus constitution. We need to tear it down. We need to look at it very critically, starting from self. And that is going to be the only way we are going to be able to tackle.
Akin, let me take one line from what you just said. Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu is attempting to retool. Retooling is that process we're watching from him. We cannot but wish him well. Emeka, let's take the talking point home. You and I must agree that there was certainly an underhand practice in acquiring the Union Bank and the setting up of the Titan Trust Bank too.
Well, I cannot just off the top of my head just say that. An allegation has been made, yes. But
Emeka, owing to the fact that a smoke would never come without a fire.
Well, it depends on the kind of smoke. If it's a magician smoke, there doesn't necessarily have to be fire under the magician smoke, because he can even bring out smoke from his heart, you know. And so they have to be on fire for there to be real fire behind the smoke. But what I want to say is that I think this investigation should proceed very carefully, so that we don't give the impression to the world, we don't give the wrong impression about our financial services sector. It's a very
because if we lose it,
delicate sector.
If we lose that, we have lost everything.
It's a delicate sector. I always worry about some of the things that we release out there just on a whim. You know, some of these things need to be thoroughly investigated. Then the mode of releasing some of this information should be carefully considered, because you can have a run on the industry. There are people outside this country who have fixed deposits. Some of these banks are financing some big projects here and there. They are in partnership with big banks, big financial institutions around the world. So if you not give if you not give a kind of impression that we are running a kalu kind of financial services sector, it can have a run on other banks. It can have the unfortunate consequence of unintended
Consequence.
yes on the financial services sector. So I am always particularly careful when talking about that sector, because that is the heart of the economy.
Yeah.
So when you just say this and that, I think it's better. Let the special investigator
Yeah,
just quietly
Emeka, except to remind you that we had been there before.
Yeah, we have been there before.
every every country.
You are making a point
Every
about
country.
You are
Every
making a
country,
point about fire. True, it will be fire, but with optical illusion.
Yes.
You have to be very, very careful. The method by which we go about catching the thief is as important as the thief that we eventually catch, maybe in a hurry. And I hear you very loudly. I would not go to my mother in the village. It kept on burying so many people during the cash crunch. I know I have to feel this, but as an elite, I must know that before I do my poll vote, I must be able to run a little. I must be able to do the bit of a long jump before I get into the poll vote. The Nigerian situation always just believes that you'll be able to just get out there to the poll vote, only for you to not just find out that K-legs come about it. If Lotus and Magna, these are entities, have they been thoroughly investigated? I keep on using the word thorough investigation.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Obaze knows this, and by the way, while he was in Financial Reporting Council, I mean, thoroughbred gentleman, there's no doubt about that. You also remember...
You remember he started the trouble with
The church.
churches and so on.
NGOs that, look, I mean, if we...
But he had a point. He scored the bullseye.
Yes, because we go to the same market, we use the same, and then you are a pastor, you are an imam, or you are a shrine owner, and then you are in private jets, using the same, resource that we have. He has that. But Jim, perhaps if he sees my face, knows that we also had, running battle at that time. Look, a thief will not want to say he's a thief. You have to go beyond catching him by the elbow, catch him by the hand. He will not be able to find...
you mean by the wrist?
By the wrist. Well, two wrists.
Okay.
Don't carry by one wrist. No, they will have... You see, the challenge now is that, my prediction, more and more names are going to be revealed. And before you say Jack and Robinson, you get to the Iroko of it, and then things might just feel like I don't pray that it happens that way, but
it's not about prayer. My fear now is, I hope Nigerians won't come out to say, now only him.
No, you know the thing for me.
Now only him.
Every country,
it came from my
every country at one point or the other goes through some of these kinds of upheavals, in the financial
But Emeka,
yes.
After 63 years of countryhood, to find us still dancing on the same spot is
I think it's
no. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. With due respect, I wouldn't look at it that way.
Okay.
I wouldn't look at it. No, I wouldn't look at it that way. I wouldn't look at it that way. Don't forget the big scandals in the United States. What was the other? What was the one that recently happened? Happened some time back recently.
So we must fit the bill because it's happening in America and so on.
I'm going somewhere. What I'm saying is this: That sector is a peculiar sector where you see different kinds of deals happen here and there, and then
Underhand deals.
underhand deals. You see those guys with the slick suits, the slick suits and all of that, and there are things going on right now. So don't expect that you will find saints. Saints.
Crooks yes. are the best dressed gentlemen.
Not only are the
you have summed it up for me.
they even have the best saints. Yes. The only difference between what we are going, and I think I support what St. Joseph is saying in over 60 years, we seem to be crawling backwards.
Oh yeah.
In those other economies, they have the institutions that work.
Correct. That's what I want to say. Yes.
And those institutions feed them out. In this part of our world, the men are the institutions.
Okay, but next door, Ghana was, shall I say, in the same mess we are in now. But they wriggled out.
And Rwanda.
And Rwanda too.
And Rwanda, like we are getting a lot of killings here. Rwanda
committed suicide.
It's enough.
And never again. But in our own case, the person that says never again will be the one that you have his hands and his legs.
Aki Anima, Emeka rather, we must apply the brakes here. But not before thanking you. Aki Fatunke, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Nigeria shall be great again.
Emeka Madonago, many thanks too. In closing, the debate should continue wherever you are at. The investigation is unfolding before our eyes. But I always talk about the Nigerian dream, which is a belief that anyone, regardless of where he or she was born in, what class he or she belongs in, can attain his or her own version of success. It's possible, because we have talked about this country being blessed naturally and otherwise. What more are we asking for? Homo Politicus will return again. Thank you very much. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of